So good morning. We are going to start. Welcome. I'm Kelly Bowers, and I'm here to start us off with our 2026 Community Health Impact Grant informational webinar. I am the proud CEO president for Three Valleys, and it's my pleasure to be here with so many familiar faces and hopefully to meet some new folks who are joining our 3VCF family on this journey. Next.
Hi, I'm Karen Diaz. I am the board clerk to the Three Valleys Foundation and also administrative help for Kelly when needed. My fun fact is I'm currently in Washington State taking care of my two grandsons.
Oh, I needed to give my fun fact. My fun fact is I'm going to be a grandma in June, and I found out that my name is supposed to be Lolly and my husband's name is supposed to be Pops.
I'll go next. I'm Colleen Gregerson, and I am the vice chair of the board of directors for Three Valleys Community Foundation, and I also chair the grants committee. Fun fact, I don't know, I have two dogs and one leopard gecko, which I recently learned has a lifespan of 30 years, and I thought it was going to be three. And I will pass to Cassidy.
Hello, I'm Cassidy Thornton. I'm the administrative and marketing assistant for Three Valleys. And for Kelly, my fun fact is I have a 19-month-old son, and his name is Theodore, and he's just the best.
He is a cutie. Okay, next. And so I'll just repeat what I said earlier, but it looks like most everybody is cooperating. We're up to about 52 participants. We're asking that you put your full name, your title, your organization, how you learned about the webinar, and also a fun fact. We'll go on. And today, just to give you a brief sneak preview, we'll be talking very briefly about where we've been and where we are, which is right here with the rolling out of our 2026 impact grants. And then Colleen is going to take us to where we're going, which is actually the core reason why you're here, which is how to go through the application process. We do have a Q&A that has been set up with a feature. It's not the chat. So we ask that you try to put the questions in there. We can try to answer them as we go along, but then we'll have a really good record of the questions, and we will also create FAQs that'll be shared afterward. Next. So where we've been, and actually we have one of our co-founders in our webinar today, Susan Houghton. So back in 2020, Susan Houghton and Steve McCoy-Thompson got together and were envisioning a community foundation that was focused on the Three Valleys region. And with that, they did a lot of research, they talked to tons of people, and they put together an incredible board of leaders. That group ended up deciding that they would go forward with a community foundation, which was incorporated in 2021. And we're part of a larger network that's nationwide of many community foundations that you've probably heard of. But the key difference between a community foundation and any other nonprofit is that it is geographic and place-based. So our primary focus is the Three Valleys region. And we have found that because of some of the grant funding and because of some of our donors' direction, that we have reached even beyond that. But with the impact grants, we're definitely focusing on the Three Valleys region, which is the Amador and the San Ramon and the Livermore Valley and everything in between. Next. So our vision is simple but intentional. We envision a community where everyone has the opportunity to live a full and rewarding life. And so we do focus on making sure that local resources stay local. We help donors give locally. The mantra is give where you live. And our mission is also very intentional. And our board revisited that this last year, and they added the word local in the giving. But I just want you to take in it's inclusive leadership, and it is thoughtful funding, informed local giving, and collaborative action. And this is part of our collaboration with our community. We are building community while we're building our community foundation. And the alliteration that has come up, I know Susan Houghton loves the alliteration, as do I, give, grant, and grow. And that's what we're doing. We're going to be taking the funds in from the people who've given it to us. We'll be granting it out to all of you who do the frontline work, and we'll be growing the impact and growing our sense of community as we go along. Our values are really core and integral to everything that we do: integrity and transparency, equity and inclusiveness. And our board doubled down on that because sometimes people forget that within the wealth and the prosperity of the Tri-Valley, that there are actually a lot of people who are still struggling just to get by. And we have data that shows that. And so we are trying to make sure that everybody is included in this and has a sense of belonging in our community. And we know that when we support them, our entire region thrives. And of course, collaboration and innovation. And you'll see these strains in the grant application process. And hopefully, as you respond to the questions and fill out your application, you'll see how these things will be resonating in the words and the programs that you will be funded for. So we are launching and we're very excited. We launched, I think, about a week ago. It's a fairly short time frame to apply, but it's also a very streamlined application. One of the things that everyone does very well in Three Valleys is listen. And we've listened to people, and we've also been on the end of applying. And we know that the more simple it is, the more you can focus on your purpose and your mission and not paperwork and a lot of barriers and checkpoints. So we have a streamlined process for you, and we're building on the last 2 successful rounds. So this is our 3rd round. And just to take you down memory lane, many of you were part of our big State of Giving. It was our first one in 2023. And at that time, we gave about $140,000 to 12 incredible grantees. Our focus then was mental health and health equity. And then we went on the next year, the 24-25 year, and we added, in addition to the mental health and health equity and access, we added in environmental health because we had donors who were focusing on that, environmental health and sustainability. We also were giving out the opioid grants, so we expanded what we were giving out. But in that case, we had 10 incredible grantees. Some were repeat grantees, some were brand new, but we made sure that they were all serving the Tri-Valley region, the Three Valleys. Next. So we're accepting applications. I know somebody was already trying to get it in. There was a little glitch with that. So some people are, are getting in right now. Others are still working on their applications. That's fine. You have until midnight on March 11th. And just to kind of help you understand where the funding comes from. So we've launched the Power of Collaboration Corporate Challenge, and this is the 3rd round of that. And this year we kicked it off with John Muir Health, Stanford Medicine Healthcare. They've returned every year. PG&E, these are repeat. In fact, John Muir is already committed for the next 2 years, which is wonderful. And we do have a new large donor, Intersect Power. So they're coming in as a corporate partner that we have. And again, we're targeting key community issues, and we listen to the community health needs assessment, and we heed the statistics, and that's what helps us shape the focus. Our board has decided to make sure that we're in tune with all of the data and all of the statistics and all of the needs that surface in our region. And that's where the focus of our grants stays. Next. And I do love to thank the sponsors. So we are still even getting more daily. We have a new development director. Her name is Carly Spence. She couldn't be with us today, but our focus is to continue to bring in more funds so that we can grant more funds. And then when we get really close toward the end, we always reach out to our own donor advised fund holders, and often they help us fill those gaps so that we can make sure the deserving applicants are funded. We've averaged about 42 applicants each year, and we're funding about a quarter of those. But these are incredible corporations that have stepped forward, and there's many different levels from $500 up to $50,000 has been given over the last 3 years for this purpose. And we even have a few individuals who've given, like Gene Key. Next slide. And so these are the focus areas. Mental health and wellness has continued because we know that it doesn't matter what demographic or background you're from, that mental health can be a challenge. And it's not just post-COVID. There's so many other pressures in the world now that are impacting young people, seniors, and everything in between. Health equity and access has remained something that we have focused on. And that also comes from the health partners that we have, telling us that it's still a challenge, whether it's language or transportation or finance. And then the new for us this year is expanding to economic vitality and stability. And so that comes again from the Community Health Needs Assessment survey data, that basically there are a lot of people who don't have basic safety net services. Economic stability and security is very unstable for them. And economic vitality is the other piece of that, which is how do we boost our economy? How do we help our businesses? How do we help the pipeline to develop talent to make sure that we have workforce development? So that is also a focus. And then we're continuing and building upon the environmental health and sustainability. So we're really looking at community health with a large global sense. Community health is all of the different components that make up the ecosystem of our region. And when all of those pieces are healthy and thriving, then we truly will see that opportunity to realize our vision. And where we're going, we're going to ask Colleen. She's going to take us where we're going next with the application process.
Great. Thanks so much, Kelly. I'm going to go over the grant timeline. So if you could just back up one slide, that would be great. All of these are in the RFP as well, so don't feel the need to jot this down. You'll find it all in the RFP online. But we are currently at February 12th, so we're having our virtual information session right now. Oh, sorry, I have some dogs in the background that are going for a walk, so apologies for the noise. And then the most important deadline here is that on March 11th, to make sure that you have submitted your applications through our online portal by midnight Pacific time. From now until that date, if you have any questions about the application process, if you're having any trouble with the portal, if you're wondering whether you're eligible to apply, please write to our applicant help desk. The email is info@3vcf.org, and we will get back to you as quickly as possible. I know we have gotten some emails about having some trouble submitting their application. Just to note that that was an error in the date that we included. We're fixing it, and within about 30 minutes of this webinar ending, you should be able to go in and submit your application if you are already ahead of the game and ready to submit. Once we receive your applications, we'll be doing eligibility checks. We will have a community panel who will be reviewing them. If we have any questions about your application or need some supplemental information, we will email you. But if you don't hear from us, it means that your application is complete and we don't need anything further. Next slide. Our intention is that by May 1st, we will have notified all of our applicants on whether we're able to make a grant or not to them. And then we would move into the process of signing a grant agreement in May. And our intention is to have the first payment on those grants made at the beginning of June. And these grants are for 1 year. So the implementation of your programs would run from June till through May of 2027. Gosh, 2027 already. We do have a midterm check-in. So this is not a written report that we require. Rather, we try to schedule 30-minute calls with all of our grantees at about the midway of their grant to get a check-in and release the final payments. And then we do ask at the end of the grant in 2027 for one written and financial report. Eligibility criteria. So this is where I always get the most questions. So we are looking for 501c3 nonprofits. If you are fiscally sponsored by a 501c3, that is also fine. If you are interested in submitting a collaborative application, we warmly welcome those, even encourage them. It just needs to be led, again, by a 501c3 entity. Public entities like school districts are not eligible to apply directly as a lead applicant, but they can be a partner to a 501c3 that's leading the application. So for example, if you work in school districts and you are a 501c3, you could apply and the school district could be your partner on that. All of our applications must directly benefit the regions that are covered by Three Valleys. So Alamo, Danville, Dublin, Livermore, Pleasanton, Greater San Ramon Valley, and Sunol are our coverage areas. And let us know if you have any questions about that, but that is a critical criteria for this grant. And if you have applied in the past, whether you received a grant or not, you are still eligible to apply again this year in any of the focus areas. Selection criteria. So as I mentioned, these applications are reviewed by a panel of community members. We draw from community members that have a wide diversity of experience, of expertise, in covering the entire geography of the Three Valleys. They review each application against a set of criteria. These are also included in the RFP. So we're looking that you have alignment with one of the 4 identified focus areas. And we recognize that some work is cross-sectional across multiple areas. That is perfectly fine. So we are happy to see those applications as well. We do want to see that you have a feasible plan to achieve progress over the next year, and how you achieve progress is up to you and your organization, but we want to see how you measure progress. That you are able to demonstrate impact Impact can look a lot of different ways. We recognize that people measure their impact in different ways. We are open to a wide variety of kinds of impact that you're going to create. We just want to hear from you in your application what that looks like and how you measure it. We want to know about your leadership and feel like you have confidence inspiring leadership, and also that your leadership, whether that's staff or board, are reflective of the communities that you are serving with your work. And then we'll look at the effectiveness of your organization. If you're a new organization and thinking, oh gosh, are we going to approve this? We're a brand new organization. You can also talk about the accomplishments of your leadership team from past similar work. And then we're also looking at an award of $20,000, up to $20,000 for a single organization, or up to $25,000 for a collaborative application will make some impact for your organization. Okay, I am not going to go into detail on each of the 4 areas because I feel that Kelly did a very good job previewing these, and they're also outlined very well in the RFP. So just a very quick review. Mental health and wellness is one focus area. This will be our 3rd year with that as a focus area, and we're taking a broad view of the potential interventions and work that you might do there. Next up, I believe, is health equity and access. So how can we expand access to healthcare to communities that face the greatest obstacles to healthcare? So this can be, language access, transportation challenges, financial barriers to access. So we're taking a broad view of the kinds of interventions that we would fund here. Next up is our new area that Kelly mentioned, economic vitality and economic stability. So how we strengthen the economic stability for individuals and families that face the greatest economic pressure in our areas. Just a few examples of the kinds of things that we might look at are workforce development, job readiness, financial literacy, affordable housing, childcare, food security. So a broad array of interventions that we would be interested in looking at here. And lastly, environmental health and sustainability. So again, we're taking a broad view here. We're interested in seeing a variety of different approaches to improving the environmental health of the 3 valleys. That could look like public outreach and education. It could be resource stewardship. It could be training programs for young people or for jobs in the green space. I have not been paying attention to questions that have come in. Kelly, should we pause and answer any questions that have come in so far, or should I keep going?
I think there's one question. It didn't come in through the FAQ, but it did come in through the chat. And I thought
Okay.
it might be good to answer that one only because we kind of just covered it. So I got to scroll through. It was a question about what kinds of expenditures can be included in the grant eligible costs. So can you write for transportation for the program? For a collaboration grant, if you have a collaboration with a county program and you're writing for the services that you provide as part of that collaboration, could you still write for a collaborative grant?
Okay, so on the list of eligible costs, we do not have specific restrictions around that. So you can include staff time. You can include your overhead. We expect that you would have overhead as an organization. If your program requires that you are doing transportation or need supplies, or you need to rely on some consulting support to achieve your program, all of those costs are eligible. So please budget for what you need to implement the work that you have put forward. Yes, we actually, every year we get questions, are we allowed to include staff? Yes, of course. None of this work gets done without your staff. So those are absolutely eligible costs. Let me just read the collaborative one a little bit more carefully. I want to make sure I understand it. I'm going to read it out loud. For a collaboration grant, if you have a collaboration with a county program and you are writing for the services that you provide as part of that collaboration, can you still write for a collaborative grant? I think the answer is yes to this, but I'm not sure I'm entirely understanding the question. So, Megan, I think that's you. If you want to send us an email about your specific situation, we will be happy to look at that and let you know if that is eligible for these grants. Okay, let me close the chat. Okay. So how do you actually apply? This is all done online through our 3 Valleys online portal. Um, it is relatively easy. Let us know if you don't think so. We'll make changes, but you go onto our portal. If you have never registered on our portal before, you've never applied for anything from us before, you'll simply set up an account. It should not take you very long to do that, and then you'll have access to the application. I'm going to walk you through what that looks like in just a moment. The application has a series of prompts that you will be able to respond to. There are a couple of documents that we ask you to upload on the financial side, and then you simply hit the submit button at the end by Wednesday, March 11th, by midnight Pacific time. That is the full process. If we move to the next slide, this is what our login page looks like if you've never seen it before. If you already have an account, you simply log on with your email address and password. If you have never logged in before, you can hit that create new account button and it will lead you through the process of setting up an account. And if, like me, you forget your passwords for things all the time, that button is there as well. So you can set up a new password if you need to, if you already have an account. This is my test screen. Sorry for the name there. But when you once you log on to our portal, this is what it's going to look like. You will see there's a couple of closed opportunities down here. Don't worry, you won't accidentally access those because there's no apply button. But let me move this. This is the one that we're talking about, our 2026 Community Impact Grants. You'll see the deadline noted here in the corner, and you simply click on the apply button to get started. This is what our application looks like. You'll see at the top we have organizational information. We simply want your mission statement, year founded. This is where you'll be able to indicate if you are fiscally sponsored, and if you are, it'll ask for some more information about your fiscal sponsor. Then we get into project information, some basic questions around the name of the project, the amount of funding that you're requesting, what is the need that you're looking to fill. This portal does not support hyperlinks, but if there is information that you wish you could link to, you can just put the full website in there, and our reviewers can then access it that way. A project description: what are you proposing to do, and how will you measure your progress? We have a question about organizational effectiveness. The way we like to assess this is if you can share 2 or 3 accomplishments that you feel really exemplify your organization's impact. That has been a really helpful way for us to understand the effectiveness of an organization. And if you are a collaboration, we like to see at least 1 accomplishment from each organization included. There's an optional question if there's anything else you want to include that we didn't have space for above. Scrolling down, then we just want to have an understanding of the people and places that you're serving. So there's a few tick boxes here and a space to expand upon the populations that you're serving. Organizational leadership, we do want to see the bios of your leadership or who will be leading this project. If they have updated LinkedIn accounts, you can just include the link or the website for their the URL for their LinkedIn, and our reviewers can go there. Reflective leadership, we want to understand how the people that you serve are reflected in the leadership of your organization. That may be staff, that may be board, you might have other ways that you do that. We just want to understand that better. And then we finish up with financial information. So we ask that you upload a project budget. We don't have a template for this. You can use whatever project budget you already use. You don't have to manipulate it into a new format. If you have any narrative that you want to share about that, for example, you want to share that this would be filling, the last piece to fill a fundraising goal for this project, or whatever, narrative information, you're welcome to share that here, but it's optional. And then we ask you to upload your most recent tax returns. With our experience is that while we can always go look up on the IRS website, it's usually at least a year delayed in posting those. So if you could upload your latest one, that helps us with our financial review. At any time, you can just save the application with this button down here and come back to it later. You don't have to complete it in one go. And then when you are ready and completed with all of it, you hit submit application. Once you do that, you will receive an automatically generated email that confirms that you have submitted it. So you can save that for your records to give yourself reassurance that you submitted on time. So I'm going to stop sharing.
And one question came in while Karen's going back to the PowerPoint. Is it, and I think you sort of touched on it, but just want to make sure, is there a way to include links to the videos?
So we have asked Foundant many times if they will allow us, if they would please add the feature to put hyperlinks into these applications. So I feel like it's going to happen one day, but it is not available yet. But you can just copy and paste the full URL to those videos into the appropriate spot, and then our reviewers can copy and paste that into their browser and look at those videos. So feel free to include the URL for that. I think that's it for me, Kelly.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Colleen. So we will have our State of Giving. It is not, the exact date is not set, but we will tell you it is in May. It is usually a week night evening. And we'll have a very special announcement that'll come up about that. But we actually want to include everybody. So our sponsors, our donors, our board, our leadership, anyone who's affiliated comes to this big celebration. And then, of course, we would be awarding the grants to the grantees. But even if you aren't successful in this grant application process, we do want you to still be part of it because it may work out that there's other funders and funding sources that come up later. For instance, when we did the opioid grants, we had over 40 applications. The first round, we funded 12. And then without even doing another competitive application process, we were able to fund the next 10 when funds became available. So we just really encourage you to be part of this process because once you're in with us in our system, in our Foundant system, then you're part of any opportunity that you have for funding, whether it's from our donor advised other individuals or other opportunities. So do not ever get discouraged if you don't get funded. It's really just a matter of how many resources. And we are still going out there to get more sponsors in order to fund as many as possible because you're doing incredible work. And we really want to support everybody, especially in this uncertain time. So big celebration coming up in May. Again,
Kelly,
our web.
there was a question that came in about the applications,
Sure,
if I can just address that quickly.
of course.
The question is there any opportunity to include attachments or supplemental information to the application? There is not, just the two places where you include your tax documentation and your budget. And the reason is that the reviewers for this are volunteers from the community. So while they're really dedicated and they spend a lot of time, there is a limit to how much material that they can read for every single application that we receive. So we ask that you don't include, additional attachments because we can't guarantee that all of our reviewers will have the time to review all of that. So we're really trying to create an equitable system where everybody has the same opportunity to include the same amount of information for our reviewers to look at.
And then I did get a question through my own personal email, and I thought it might be worth saying, even though it'll be in our FAQs. And the question was, do they have to be located in the Three Valleys region? Can they be outside of the region and partnering locally?
Yeah, so we look at a few different things when it is about when it comes to our geography. So absolutely, the population you have to be serving must be in the Three Valleys region. That is a non-negotiable for us. Typically, the organizations are based in the Three Valleys, but not always. When they are not based in Three Valleys geographic area, we typically that will be a spot where you'll often get a question from our team as they're reviewing the application so that we can be absolutely certain that if you're not based in our geographic region, that you already have work there. So you have a track record of working in our communities and that you have partnerships that would allow for your work to be successful within our communities. I would say, for example, we have had an organization apply who was not based in our area and had never worked in our area before, but was proposing to work in the area. Those are unlikely to get funded unless they have a track record of working in our area and solid partnerships in place to ensure that that's successful.
We had an additional question, Colleen, if you could answer it while Kelly updates the
Yeah.
sharing. Nicole asked if we can apply if we have an active grant with Three Valleys that overlaps this grant's term.
Yes, you can still apply. It would need to, not be for the same costs that you're already getting covered for. So, if you're proposing maybe you want to continue the program for another year, but there's a month or two of overlap, just budgeting appropriately for that. Or if it's a new program or a new initiative entirely that's not related to the current work that you're doing with our grant, then just make that clear, and then you can budget appropriately for that. Also, are indirect costs able to be put into the budget if there's a certain percentage we're allowed to put down? Yes, you are allowed to put your indirect costs in there. We do not have a hard and fast limit, but we do look carefully. If we see an indirect cost that exceeds 15%, we're going to have a hard look at that. There may be good reason for why that would be the case, and we would look at that a case by case basis, but that's really the kind of the place where we have a more in-depth look at why the indirect rate is at that level.
Looks like there may be one other question. The budget we submit, our annual overall, is it the annual overall budget or is it the budget for the actual proposed program in the community?
Great question. So if you are proposing a specific project or initiative in your application, we want to see the budget for that project or initiative specifically. If you are applying for general operating support, perhaps because your mission is so well aligned with the focus areas that we have, then you can submit your annual overall budget. Those instructions are included as a note in the application portal itself as well.
The other question that came into my email was, can you touch on more than one of the focus areas, or does it have to be that you're only focusing on one area?
You can absolutely focus on more than one area. These areas are often very intersectional. Health equity and access and mental health have a lot of overlapping spots. So we totally understand that. And if your work is cross-cuts across two or more of them, that is perfectly fine.
So we'll look, any more questions? Cassidy or Karen, are we seeing any more questions?
None right now.
Okay, so I did want to remind you that we do have our website, and there is a specific area for not only the corporate challenge and sponsorships, but also for the grant opportunities. We will be uploading the recording of this as well as updating FAQs, and we'll send that out as well in case there's people or representatives from your organizations who could not be here. We also found it does make some video tutorials. They're actually, pretty useful, and if you get stuck throughout the process. And then we are just an email away at info@3vcf.org, and we'll try to be as responsive as we can so that you can make sure and meet the deadlines and have all your questions answered. Next question, next slide. So again, if there's any more questions, we don't want to rush you. The teacher in me, many years of teaching, always gives you wait time, and we want to make sure that anything else is
Kelly, I do see a question. Is there a maximum dollar amount for this grant? Yes, the maximum amount you can apply for is $20,000 for a single organization. If you're submitting a collaborative application, the maximum dollar figure is $25,000.
And I will say that we have a range. So we've given anywhere from 5,000 to the 22 or 25,000 in the past. And we actually had this last year, we also had another, after that original opportunity, we had another opportunity for several of our grantees to also apply for something that's called Beyond the Grant. And they were eligible for kind of a capacity building grant because they had received a grant from us, and it included another $10,000 micro grant. So sometimes we can stretch that further, but we do have limited funds, and so it's up to the 22,000 or 25,000. And if you're not funded fully, then we allow you to adjust your budget. So with that, I just want to thank everyone for joining us. We had a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of excitement about this, and thank our panelists, thank our co-founder, Susan Houghton, who's still out there, and all the support that we're receiving as our community foundation continues to grow and build, and you are integral to that process. So thank you for all the hard work that you are doing, and we're really happy to support you.